time is now 5:30, and I will call the July 26th, 2021 regular meeting of the board into session. First thing on the agenda tonight is item 1, moment of silence and pledge the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. And as we stand for our moment of silence, I would like to remind those in attendance and our MISD community that we lost a student this week. Gavin Schubert would have been a freshman at Lee High School. And so I would really appreciate the fact if you would remember his family in this time of difficulty and change for them, and something that they were totally unexpected, but it's a very serious matter for us. And I would just like to ask you to remember that in your time of silence. Thank you. At this time, we will turn the meeting over to Elena Ladd for student recognitions. Thank you, Mrs. Ladd.
Good evening. Thank you. Trustees, it is my pleasure to share with you some of the outstanding successes our students have accomplished this past school year. In addition to the recognitions we bring you throughout the year, at the end of the year, we traditionally bring you those students who have achieved state and national level accomplishments. Tonight, we have some of those students from the secondary level who are here. And if we could ask you all to come out from behind the dais, we would love to get some photographs as we call the students on stage. So the first person we would like to recognize tonight is an outstanding young lady rebel. Leah Acosta placed 6th in the entire state for discus, and she is joined on stage by her coach, Frank Maldonado. And if we could get you guys to mix in with the group there, we'd love to get a photo. All right, thank you. Next up, we would like to invite the Robo Junkies robotics team on stage. These young men and women placed 2nd in the state for 5 and 6A schools. They are Keller Borzaris, Brent Bodley, Austin McElhaney, Eric Shannon, Chloe Salinas, and Connor Elliott, and they were coached by Bill Cook. Right. Thank you. Also just want to verbally recognize Giselle Andrade. She was not able to be here tonight, but she produced some beautiful artwork, which won an award at the state vase competition. But moving on to the Midland High side of town, we would like to invite Tyler Stewart on stage. Tyler is the UIL tennis state singles state champion, and he is joined on stage by his coach, Thomas Heiding. Okay, thank you. All right, next up is our largest group of the night. This is the Midland High cast of The Old Man and the Old Moon. Their performance was a state finalist for one act play, and they earned a designation of second runner-up in the state. They are joined on stage by directors Tiffany Gardner-Moore, Rodrigo Sanchez, and Sean Murillo. Yep, and if you guys could crouch down, that's perfect. Yes. Okay, board, come up, get close. All right, thank you. All right, and last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome Shweta Jayakumar on the stage. Shweta was a National Spelling Bee quarterfinalist. She progressed through 5 rounds and ended her run ranked 43rd out of 209 national spellers. And she is joined up on stage by YWLA Principal Dowdy. All right, thank you. Trustees, as you can see, we have incredibly talented students here, and we thank you for taking some time out of the meeting to give them some recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ladd, and thank you to all those students and teachers and all the hard, great work. That's amazing. The time is now 5:38, and we were going to have public forum, and we have one speaker tonight, and it is Vibrant Skeet. Thank you, Mr. Skeet, for being here tonight.
Mr. President and members of the Board of Trustees, can you hear me up there? All right. Yes, I think we're sounding good. Mr. President and members of the Board of Trustees, my name is Vibrant Skeet. I'm taking this opportunity to introduce myself to you because I am one of your newest faculty members that you've hired for the 2021-2022 school year. For this school year, I will be working out of the early college high school. Now, the reason why I'm introducing myself is because in the future, we will be working together as I work through the superintendent to bring to your attention things such as proclamations for Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month, probably something to do to recognize people like Cesar Chavez and all the other legends that we have that we can pack into those months, and some of the activities that would not only bring credit, but also put MSISD in good standing or further good standing with the community. Now, I'm here because I have 27 years of experience, starting in 1994, tutoring. As a matter of fact, that was my only business for more than 10 years. It was that successful. And then recently, as in 2020, I came all the way over to Texas, where I assumed and completed the teacher's certification program in Texas. So I'm certified in Texas, in the British Commonwealth, and in the Republic of Guyana. Now, one of the reasons why I'm introducing myself is because, as you would find in the future, we would be leaning on you for some of the support for some of the activities that we need. And the reason why we would be leaning on you is because, more than likely, these are activities that have never been done at MSISD. However, since I am totally focused on the academic side of things, I take great pride when you see we can send another student to Harvard or Yale or Stanford that comes out of MSISD. And so if I can have a hand in helping to make that possible, that would be my greatest accomplishment. I want to thank the board in advance because I've noticed on the website that the board has said to the superintendent that we are here to make this the best year ever. So even though we are still battered by the Delta virus that's now taking control over in the United States and around the world, and we now have to prepare for the Lambda virus that's coming up, I want us not to be afraid in terms of making great decisions that benefit not only the students, but the parents and the staff. In closing, I want to thank you again for your support in advance, and Dr. Ramsey, I'll be coming to see you sooner than later so we can talk about the future. Thank you once again, and my name is Vibert Skeet.
Thank you, Mr. Skeet, and welcome to MISD. We're fortunate to have you. I do want to make an announcement real quick. Mr. Bishop had to leave just as we were finishing the student recognitions. He got a call to work. He's a safety person, and they had an accident that he had to go attend to, so he wanted me to extend his apologies. The next item on the agenda is item number 4, consent agenda. A, board meetings, minutes. Item B, monthly financials. Item C, annual investment report. Item D, contracts over $100,000. Item E, request for proposal, RFP 20-75, Addendum 1, charter bus and student group travel service. Item F, personnel appointments. Item G, teen court agreement. Item H, 2021-2022 student code of conduct. Item I, donations to the district. Board, are there any reason any of these items should be pulled from consent? Hearing none, those are deemed approved. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item number 5, district presentations, and A is academic update. And Ms. Martinez or Ms. Garcia, I'm not sure who's going first. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and call up our 2 associate superintendents, Dr. Martinez and Mr. Garcia. Our deputy superintendent, Dr. Cuellar, hasn't yet started, and so we'll meet him virtually tonight, and then we'll have a face-to-face at the next board meeting.
Good evening, School Board President Murray, school board members, and Dr. Ramsey. It is great to be here today, and it's great to be in Midland. I'm Charlie Garcia. As Dr. Ramsey alluded to, I'm the associate superintendent that is going to be working with the learning, leading, and innovation team. As superintendent said, Dr. Cuellar will be the captain of our ship, and he will soon be joining us to support the charge to support all students in our academic success. But before we do that, we do want to introduce to you our organizational chart that includes a flat organizational chart to directly support our principals and our students so that they can achieve at the highest levels that they can. If you notice, we have Ms. Diana Martinez is here today, and if she can please stand for us. We also have Mr. Stan Van Hooser, who will be supporting our charge with state and federal programs. Ms. Jennifer Warren is also here attending us as special services. And we have Ms. Leti Araya, and she will be supporting our instructional support for Executive Director of Student Programs. As I said, I'm Charlie Garcia, and I'm now going to introduce Dr. Martinez.
Good evening. Happy to be here with you, and I just want to quickly introduce the core of the leadership, the learning, leading, and innovation team, and they're here. And so we want to make sure that you recognize the faces with the names. Let me start with Mr. Jeff Horner, Executive Director. We have Dr. Josefa Davila, Executive Director as well. We have our directors. We have Dr. Nancy Parker. We have Iris Jimenez, Yvonne Aguilera, and Claudia Valenzuela. And then we have the only coordinator we have been able to hire so far is Ms. Antoinette Ramos. We also have as part of our team, Chris Hightower, and we will be on the lookout for an RTI MTSS coordinator as well, and we are in the process of hiring for the remaining positions that we have in our team. We have divided our schools in Team Maroon, and you see the list of those schools in front of you, and then Team Purple. Team Maroon is the Legacy, and the Team Purple is the Midland High School. We also will be working with our partner schools, and now Charlie will get us finished with some commentaries based on the leadership retreats and events that we have already held with our principals, which we're very happy to say they're excited to get this school year started. Thank you.
I'll close up with a few positive feedback that our principals gave us from the leadership retreat. As I said, our charge in the LLI division is to support principals, support our leadership at the campuses, so then they in turn can support our teachers, so then we can achieve academic success for all our students. We are passionate, as you can see up here, talking to you all today, because we have the common goal is to support our kids. And we thank you for the opportunity. And our leadership team here that is here with us, the LI team, they have been working day and night to ensure that we communicate and we support our principals. And we'll continue to do that because we believe in our kids, we believe in the MISD, and we're going to get the job done. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak, and have a good night.
Thank you. And just let me say, and I'm going to do this on behalf of the board, but we are so excited that you are all here, and we're so excited to have your new faces and smiling faces. We have heard great things already from the principals meeting that you had, the retreat a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and we are super excited that you're here. Dr. Martinez, I apologize for not calling you doctor. I got ahead of myself because Ms. Lopez Martinez is speaking later, and I was thinking that's where we were going, so I apologize. But we are super happy to have you guys. I talked to some of you earlier last week and told you how excited we are and how fortunate we are. And we look forward to this new flow chart of how MISD is going to work now, and the way that we can run a district service center and support campuses. So thank you for being here, and we're excited, and it's time to go to work. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 6, district reports. And these are report only, but I will read them. A, innovation update. B, the administrative update. C, the staffing update. D, revised 2021-2022 employee handbook. And E, the 2021-2022 student handbook. Board, are there any reason for any of these to be pulled? Any questions? Hearing none, I think the only thing we would say is, man, that's a lot of reading between the employee handbook and the student handbook. So a lot of pages there, so thank you. That takes us to item number 7, discussion action items. And A is the Texas Association of School Boards delegate designation. And I have approached Ms. Joyner about being our delegate for this year. She's a new board member, and she has accepted that opportunity to represent us in September at the convention. And Mr. Booker will be the delegate, if that's okay. And so we do need to approve that. So can I have that in the form of a motion? Delegate and alternate.
I move.
We have a motion by Mr. Marquez, a second by Mr. Davis. All in favor, please, or any other discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Yeah. It's unanimous. Thank you. Item B, academic update, Goal 2 annual target and Goal 3 annual target STAR results update. Ms. Martinez, now welcome to the podium. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Board President Brian Murray, school board members, and Superintendent Ramsey. Today we are going to be presenting to you the 2020-2021 annual outcomes for Board Goal 2 and Board Goal 3, which are written to address the performance in grades 3 through 8 on the state assessments in reading and in math. The goals are written in alignment with the meets and the masters level performance of the state assessment. So I do want to jump ahead just a little bit because I did provide a visual here just to show where the minimum passing standard is, and this is for reading. And you can see where the goals are set at the meets and the masters for reading, and then also for math. And I just think that's important to point out, and so I wanted to provide that information there for you. So going back, looking at slide one is addressing Board Goal 2, and so Board Goal 2 talks about all third through 8th graders are scoring at the meets or masters level on STAR reading, and that we would increase from a baseline of 36% to 48% by August of 2023, with the 2021 target set at 44%. So as you can see here outlined in the slide, MISD is off track for meeting that end target in 2023. So our outcome was 35% of our students in grades 3 through 8 scored 35% at the meets or master's level performance on STAR. I also added here towards the bottom student group data. This is something that we haven't put on here before, but I did want to point out how our student groups performed. I do want to specify here that those reading targets are set by the state of Texas. Those targets there at the bottom for each group. Those are not set by MISD, and those are aligned to the Domain 3 Closing the Gaps domain. And so you can see there that the data is reflective of 2019 performance and versus 2021 performance. And so the red indicates that we have not met any of those targets in both of those grade levels. What I will point out here is that 7 of the 10 groups did show an increase in performance, but again, we have not met any of those targets. Are there any questions on this particular goal?
If I may, President Murray, just to be clear again, that the board goals are at a higher level, a higher threshold than what the state sets as passing. And so that first slide that showed approaches met really showed that what we're reporting on tonight isn't what the state says passing is, but at that higher threshold that this board, rightfully so, put into place, because we don't want our children just to pass. We want them to be at that higher level.
That is correct. So I'll move on then to Board Goal 3. So Board Goal 3 outlines all 3rd through 8th grade students scoring at the meets or masters level on STAR. Math will increase from 39% to 51% by August 2023. The target for this spring was for our students to perform at least at a 46% when it comes to the meets level performance, meets or masters. And so as you can see indicated here, we again are off track. Our students scored, our 3rd through 8th grade students scored 32% on the meets level performance in those particular grade levels. You can see here at the bottom, again, outlined the student groups and the targets that are set by the state, we had a lower number of student groups that actually showed an increase. There were 3 that did, and none of our student groups met those targets that are set by the state. Do you have any questions with regard to these 2 slides? So one of the things that I want to talk about in terms of next steps, there are actually 3 things, but these are very high-level district-wide actions that are taking place. We do have several actions that are taking place. A lot of those are being led by our Leading Learning Innovation team. They are hard at work making sure that they have professional development set up and supports for leaders moving into the next school year. The ones that I'm going to present are more high-level district-wide actions that are taking place. So as it was mentioned earlier, we do have a district service center redesign that took place already, and we're very excited about that. This was a very comprehensive approach of redesigning central office and really sending a message that we are a service center and that we exist to support campuses. And so that has been the first thing that took place. The goal is to support students and teachers and leaders at their campuses at very high levels. So that's something that's already occurred. We also have House Bill 4545. So House Bill 4545 it's a recently passed in the 87th regular legislative session. This new statute is effective as of June 2021, with acceleration instruction practices required for the upcoming school year. So for all students who did not score satisfactorily in grades 3 through 8. And so this particular one is looking at that approaches level performance, the one so it's not meets and masters, it's the approaches level performance. And the House Bill 4545 sets some specific guidelines for districts to implement this school year to ensure that we are working to accelerate learning for these students and close learning gaps. I've provided some high-level information regarding House Bill 4545. We do have some links that I'm happy to share with you that go in depth and do a really good job in explaining very much the details of what the specifics are. But in terms of high level, this is for any student who did not pass the STAR test in 3rd through 8th grade, STAR, and end of course assessments. So acceleration must either include being assigned a teacher who is a certified master, exemplary, or recognized teacher, or they are required to receive supplemental instruction. So this could be tutoring before or after school, or it could even be embedded within the instructional school day. And so that's something that that our campuses and our district team is working to ensure that we have those processes and those systems in place, that we've identified the students. And this also includes students who did not take the assessment this past school year. Those students are also included in receiving this intervention. Without getting too much into the weeds, there is an opportunity for the students who did not take the assessment to take an assessment at the beginning of the year that is similar to the state assessment, and so districts have the discretion to do that, and if those students are successful on that assessment that must be aligned to the state assessment, then those students could be excluded from this particular requirement. And then the last high-level thing that I wanted to discuss in terms of district-wide approach is, of course, the Intersessional Calendar that was approved by you last February, where students that are in need of interventions in grades 3 through 6 are going to be provided that intervention during intersessional weeks. We have one in October coming up, and then we have one in February. And so the district decided to do that with K through 6th grade reading. We know, and there's a lot of research out there that shows that early literacy is the foundation. If we don't close the gap there, then, there's a lot of research out there that indicates that our students are at high risk for dropping out of school. To name it, there are several things. And so we want to make sure that we're sending kids on to the upper grade levels, reading proficiently so that they can be successful across the board. So that is something that we also have in place in terms of intercession support. Again, these are high level, and I can tell you just from listening to the Leading Learning Innovation team and the work that they're planning on doing with supporting our leaders, building capacity amongst the leaders so that they can best support the teachers, the professional development that has been designed for this school year, especially in the area of literacy. Some of the, I know you heard last year about a redesign of a position at elementary that focuses specifically on literacy. I mean, we have several components that are being put in place to support our campuses at a much higher level, with a focus on elementary, because we know that we have a lot of our elementary schools that have tremendous gaps, and we want to close those early. Are there any questions with regard to these three items or the data?
I have a question for Dr. Ramsey. Dr. Ramsey, are we going to be able to front-end load information to the parent? This will be our first year with the Intersessional Calendar, but we're going to be able to front-end load information for people that are going to need to come to intercession. I mean, I don't think I've asked that question already, but how early are we going to know that? Is it going to be the week before, 2 weeks ahead?
No, based on the legislation, we already know what students are identified. What we don't know are those students that chose not to take the state assessment, and then we may have additional students that teachers identify during the school year. And so preliminary information will go out relatively soon after the school year starts. We want to let the principals put out all their back to school information, and then we'll start communicating this week. We're starting our weekly update again, and so we'll use that as a vehicle to provide information to parents. HB 4545 will be on this week's update, so that at least you can start to get a primer, some basic information, and all parents will remind them again how they can see their children's scores. We did that earlier in the summer, but it'll be ongoing conversations as well. And then we are working on what we're going to be doing at the secondary level and for enrichment as well. And so as that solidifies, we'll communicate widely.
Great.
Any other questions on that?
Nope.
I have one quick
Yes,
question. You mentioned the literacy strategists that we've talked about before. Are they the person who will kind of be heading up on the campus for the 45 additional tutoring and that kind of stuff? And is there a math component or similar? Who is handling the math piece, I guess?
So right now, the focus is on literacy for that individual. So I do believe that individual will be a big part of the intervention that occurs, but they can't handle all of it. Unfortunately, at some campuses, the numbers are quite large. And so we do have a lot of teachers that are going to be involved. We have, it's almost going to be an all hands on deck type of approach. And again, it's going to look different from school to school to school depending on the number of students, because there are guidelines in terms of how many students you can pool in a specific group. And so you can't have a large number in there unless parents have been notified of such. And so they will be a part of the process, but it will depend from campus to campus to campus. And every campus is staffed a little differently. We have Title I campuses who do opt to use some of their funding to, they have higher percentages of economically disadvantaged students, which research tells us that start school with larger gaps. And so then they opt to use some of their funding for additional support staff. And so it really is going to depend from school to school to school.
And if I may, it's a great question because it allows us to explain the change in frame. Because the question was, is that the person that's going to be primarily responsible? And we're moving away from that model. Because in that model, it puts too much onus on one person. And so the whole reason why we created 2 teams and a system of support is so that we have professional learning communities in the same way at the campuses. The teachers, the administrators on that campus, they own the success of their children. And then at our DSC, this team owns the portion of support to ensure that happens. And so we want to make sure that we actually are moving away from 1 or 2 people and really go to a team approach, because we've learned nothing that gets implemented well when it's 1 or 2 people, but when you have a team and you can have implementation, like actual steps of implementation, then you're able to really not only just start something, but actually finish it and have fidelity. So it's actually a perfect question, because it actually shows why having the team approach is going to assist our students, because in that way, there is no crack. No one falls behind, because there's a lot of eyes. And at the end of the day, that campus principal, those campus administrators, and those teachers that have our students, we all own that success.
And that was going to be my next point is we want campuses we want to empower campuses. We want them to distribute in terms of their expertise at their campus and make those decisions without us coming in and saying, you will only use this one individual. We want every campus, because every campus is different, and we want them to feel empowered in doing that. Professional learning communities is a huge part of the work that we do, and so we want to make sure that teachers come together and the more of them that come together and make those decisions, they know their kids. I think the more successful that we're going to be in closing learning gaps. Okay, so one other thing, I did provide to you several slides that align to the board goals. I wanted you to see the breakdown of the data that I presented to you in terms of meets level performance. I went ahead and included the state average and the region average just so that we could see how we were performing in comparison to that. I have outlined some highlights that I'm going to go through. I'm not going to go through every single slide. I know that you have that data in front of you, but if there is a particular slide that you want me to reference, then just let me know. So the highlights seen in the data that really stood out to me was MISD star reading scores for grades 3 through 8 were 2 to 5% higher than the region average in 2021. MISD outperformed the region and the state in grades 3 through 6 math. And I think that's a huge celebration for us. I mean, we have a long way to go. We understand that, but that was a definite celebration. With that said, we did see that 7th grade math was an area where we need, and the state was lower, if you notice on that one. The region was lower, but then we were even lower than that. So, I know that our team is working on figuring out, because we're really using 2 lenses here. We know that we have academic concerns and areas that we have to really address in terms of professional development, in terms of supports that are provided, curriculum alignment, all of those things. But we also have to consider what COVID did. We can't ignore that. And every campus and every district took a different impact. And so it's our job to figure out, how much of this, because we don't want to negate that there are academic concerns and things that we have to address internally in terms of supporting our campuses in that realm. But we also don't want to negate that every campus, we have to look at it individually to see what type of impact. We had schools who thankfully had a very, everybody had an impact, but we had schools who had more, teachers, for example, quarantined. multiple times than others. We had campuses who had teachers who lost family members. And so all of those things took an impact. So we have to look at it through both of those lenses and figure out how to best support each of the schools. So it's really going to be looking at it from an individual perspective for each school. And then we had between 2021 and 2019, there was a 19% increase in the percent of fourth graders that reached the MEETS level or above on the Spanish reading STAR test, which was a huge celebration. But then when we looked at our fifth grade on that same slide, we had a 31% decline. So again, it's our job to go back and figure out what was it that happened there. There was a 20% decline also from 2019 to 2021 in the percentage of eighth graders that reached MEETS or masters on the Math STAR exam. So those were some highlights, high level, that really stood out to me. I provided a few more for you in the slides. Does anybody have any questions, or is there a specific slide that you would like me to show up here on the screen and discuss?
Ms. Martinez, I think I would like you to pull up the slide for the 3rd through 8th grade math English.
Okay.
Just so that we can see, and I went to the wrong one. There we go. Math English. So, and you said this, but I want to just draw attention. 3rd grade meets level or above, MISD 30%, the state 30%.
Yes.
4th grade, MISD 39%, the state 35%.
Mm-hmm.
5th grade, MISD 45%, the state 43%, and then 6th grade, both were 34%. So
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that, but I just wanted to be able to break that out by grade levels. We all know that COVID was difficult for MISD. It was difficult across the state, but we held our own.
Absolutely.
And I think our teachers did a great job of us when we were in the classroom being able to make a difference in students' outcomes. I do see that 7th grade and 8th grade math were a little tougher, and we've got work to do there. I think you also mentioned that. But and I'll throw this out to you or to Dr. Ramsey. Can you kind of define what the region is, and then how do we compare to those districts around us?
So the region is made up of, how many districts?
So this is Region 18, and I need to actually go back and count
I
exact.
want to say it's somewhere around 30, but I will get that number for you.
Yes, we'll send you that.
And we're talking about everyone from Big Spring, Ector County, Andrews, you name it. And when it comes to our performance in comparison to them, we actually outperformed them with our 3 through 6th grade. And this is at the higher level. This is at MEETS. And so we're not only holding our own, but when it comes to the region, this is a place where we should commend our teachers for all the hard work that they did last year.
Absolutely.
Because we outperformed in almost every area here.
Our teachers, our leaders, and really figure out, because these children still missed school. And there was something that was done in terms of acceleration systemically that I believe contributed to these outcomes. And I think we can learn from this. And so that's part of the next steps, is to figure out, what type of acceleration was provided in the area of math at the elementary level, so that we were able to, despite students learning from home, and we still had students who, remained at home in the Midland Online Academy. We still saw these gains. So that is definitely a celebration for MISD. Any other questions?
And we did get that number. It's 33 ISDs, 38 if you count also our charter school organizations.
Awesome.
So that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Yes. Yes, it is inclusive of all of our campuses. Mm-hmm. Because they're all of our students. So we did. However, we are looking at, of course, analyzing, how is it that our partnership campuses are are performing, and then we want to use similar metrics so that we can look to see how our, because when we talk about a system of great schools, we're talking about all of our schools, our partnership and non-partnership. It's about all of our schools. So we want to make sure that we present metrics that are going to show almost like an apple-to-apple comparison of how our kids, whether they're in a partnership or a non-partnership school, how they're performing. So that is the next piece for us, and so I'll work with Dr. Ramsey on how to present that information. But this particular average does include all of our MISD students.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for sharing that with us and all the hard work of our staff and our teachers. And we know they all started today, so we're excited about the work that's begun and getting ready to make a difference in the new beginning. I believe that was referred to earlier. The next item on the agenda is item 7C, Agreement for Purchase of Attendance Credits. Mr. Dodds?
Good evening, Board President Mr. Murray, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Ramsey. We are here for our annual agreement to purchase attendance credits from TEA, which is approved by our voters in November 5th, 2013 election to purchase attendance credit for excess revenue received by the district. And so this is part of the Chapter 49, Texas Education Code Chapter 49 procedure that we approve each year to purchase attendance credits, which is known as we call it, recapture. And so that is what we're here for tonight, is to get this approved. And this is for the 21-22 school year.
Mr. Dobbs, I got a question for you. And I apologize for saying it like a blindside question, but in the future, as the county grows to the north potentially, and we end up with potentially neighborhoods that are adjacent to Midland County and Martin County per se, what plan is there to take into account that? I'm assuming Chapter 49 is for the Midland County appraisal, not the Martin County appraisal, that potentially you could have all these students that could live over there.
It is
How's that going to work out?
Yes, it's actually based on the school district map. So even though Midland County has 2 school districts as far as that would pay recapture, which would be Midland ISD and Greenwood ISD. Greenwood is based on evaluation in their school district. Midland ISD is based off the property values in Midland ISD. Now, Martin County, Stanton, they have a big recapture payment that they pay every year, and they have to approve this the same way. Those would be all the Martin County values that are under Stanton ISD. Those values go towards that district, and if those areas grow, this is based off value per weighted average daily attendance. So if our student population grows, that reduces our recapture payment unless our values continue to grow. And so same thing for them. The Martin County would be under Stanton ISD at that point in time.
Okay, so if you have students that are coming from the county over there, that evaluation is added to.
They're not permitted to come to our district right now.
I thought we had talked about how they would be allowed.
They are currently not allowed.
Right now, I don't believe we have an open district, so they would be going back to Stanton if they live in Martin County or live in that school district.
Given our current capacity issues, we probably will not allow them in the near future anytime.
So anybody that builds a house and right across the county line, those students would have to go to
Stanton ISD.
Yes,
Stanton ISD.
yes. That we have that now with Midland ISD students living on the other side of Greenwood ISD there may be a street in between them, one going to Greenwood, one going to Midland.
Right.
And so those are the districts that they're in. So, and that's, their property is in each district.
And Mr. Dodds, I do want to kind of make sure we bring the focus back, because we're talking about Chapter 49 right
Yes.
now, about how we're going to pay the state because our tax values are higher than the number of students we have.
Correct.
And per our discussion this afternoon, we don't have a lot of options to do this. We do this because it's state mandated, because our other options are to have the state come in and lower, or maybe the TEA come in and lower our property values.
Yes.
Or the opposite is take over a school.
Well, one would be going against what our voters at the MISD approved, to purchase attendance credits for recapture payments. But the only other way, if, and there were some write-ups about Houston ISD not wanting to pay their recapture, and so you would either be consolidated into another school district, or your tax base would be given out to other school districts to lower you beneath that threshold.
And with no promise of ever returning if once given
Correct.
away.
Once it's gone, it's probably gone. So,
I think that the board, I'm speaking for myself, but I know that I do not want to vote for this. I do not believe in this. I know that we have to do it now, and I'm starting to better understand the legalities of it, but it is Robin Hood, as it is well known, and it's hard to do when you have a school district that is working so hard to turn itself around and then send it to Austin. I just wanted to say that publicly, that we feel that it is extremely backwards in some ways, but we appreciate your hard work, and thank you for putting this together and explaining why we have to do it.
well, there's no school district that wants to do this, but that is the way our Texas Education Code states we have to do that. So,
And I would just want to add that I appreciate your answer, and just to further clarify, obviously in my own mind, because it's complicated, that, the better it clears up in my mind. I understand the action that we need to take. I've been here long enough, but I just want to ask that question and see what that, because we have had a discussion, I know, about students and so forth, and just kind of was wondering about that. But
Mr. Murray, because I don't think that we have an alternative that has a reasonable chance of success, of succeeding other than doing this, and because the other alternatives I don't think would provide a benefit to MISD, I move to approve the agreement for the purchase of the attendance credit.
I have a motion by Mr. Davis, a second by Mr. Booker. Any other discussion? All in favor, please show by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodds. And Ms. Joyner reminded me on item B, that is actually an action item now, and so I need a motion to accept Ms. Martinez's report, please.
I motion to accept.
Yep. A motion by Ms. Joyner, a second by Mr. Booker. Any discussion on that before we move on? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. It's unanimous as well. All right, Mr. Dodds, back to you again. Item 7D, delegate Chapter 49 authority.
Yes. Annually, the district must submit the agreement for purchase of attendance credit, and this is delegating the authority to the superintendent to sign that agreement and contract with TEA. And there is a required motion language that has to be done at this board meeting.
It's in your board book.
Okay, I'll do it. I motion for the 2021-2022 school year, we delegate contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code, TEC 11 .1511C4 to the superintendent solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC 4.8.257 and TEC Chapter 49, subchapters A and D, and the rules adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006. This includes approval of the agreement for the purchase of attendance credit.
Do I hear a second?
That's it.
Second by Mr. Marquez. Any other discussion? All in favor, please show by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. 5-0.
Thank you, board members.
Okay, the time is now 6:25, and we will be moving to closed session in accordance with Government Code Section 551.0821, conduct Level 3 grievance hearing on student-parent complaint, Section 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation, and any or all subject matters authorized by law, and Section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. There is a possibility that we have action arising from the closed session, so those in attendance, if you want to stay, we'd welcome that. If not, you're free to leave now, but the board will adjourn again at 6:25. Thank you. The time is now 8:08, easy for me to say, and the board is emerging from executive session. The next item on the agenda is item number 9, actions arising from closed session, and A is discussion and possible action on Level 3 grievance hearing for student/parent complaint.
Board President Murray, I would like to abstain from any discussion or possible action from this item.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez.
I move to deny the Level 3 grievance appeal and uphold the decision of the Level 2 administrator.
A motion by Ms. Joyner,
Second.
second by Mr. Davis. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please show by raising your right hand. And it's unanimous, 4-0 with one abstention. Thank you. The time is now 8:09, and we are adjourned.